Welcome to Porn Talk with Powerful Eric. End the porn habit. Reclaim your power. Eric Zuzak, aka Powerful Eric, has been in 12-step programs for almost 20 years with little success. Then one day he stumbled on the science of mindfulness to combat addictions. Powerless Eric died and Powerful Eric was born. Learn from Eric's mistakes and get empowered now. Let's join Powerful Eric.
Welcome to Porn Talk. This is Powerful Eric. The purpose of this show is to help you end the porn habit and reclaim your power. But it's not just about breaking addictions, it's about breaking belief systems. We are bound by self-imposed and societal chains. Break the chains, get empowered now. Our guest today is my friend and mentor, Craig Perra. Craig is world-renowned for transforming the lives of people who struggle with compulsive behavior and sex and porn addiction. With success stories and clients in over 20 countries and 6 continents, Craig has made his mark as the top coach for professionals, executives, musicians, personalities, professional athletes, and men in need of fast results and changes for the sake of their sexuality and relationships. Craig has been featured on a number of international media outlets, including The Katie Couric Show, The Steve Harvey Show, and Lifetime TV. He has a passion for yoga and is a yoga instructor in Roseville, California. Help me welcome my friend and mentor, Craig Perra. Welcome, Craig.
Oh, thank you, Eric, so much for that kind introduction. So honored and privileged to be here, brother. Look forward to this talk.
Great. And as you know, last week, your wife, Craig's wife, Michelle, was on the show last week, and she really was great. So if you guys have missed that show, be sure to go back and listen to that. And Michelle told us just a teeny bit of Craig's story, but Craig, can you share some of your story with the listening audience?
Sure. So mine is the classic case of a man unable to deal with his trauma, his past, and 2 parts of me. All my life, I've had these 2 parts. One was this successful athletic growing up, class president, this part. And then this other part starting at a very young age when I was exposed to pornography by an older neighborhood boy who used porn to touch me for many, many years. This other side, this dark secret. Mm-hmm. And for most of my life, I was able to keep that dark secret and hid it from my family, hid it from my friends, hid it from my now wife, Michelle, who you guys heard from last week. And what were those secrets? It was secret porn use, pornography, adult bookstores, and prostitutes and affairs. Mm-hmm. And so I just moved my family to California about 9-10 years ago to take a new job. This was the second job that I was fired from in 12 months. I was an executive at a $1 billion company, lost that job, became another executive at another $1 billion company, and moved my family cross country for that job. Hated that job, knew that this wasn't my future. It was terrifying. So instead of dealing with it like an adult, I threw myself off the cliff. I went on a self-destructive, drug-fueled bender with prostitutes, a trans escort, and just sunk so low I ended up getting fired, which is what part of me wanted to happen. I've since realized, right. And found myself in an inpatient rehab facility for 3 days, one of the loneliest 3 days of my life, after trying to kill myself snorting bath salts. Wow. And that was rock bottom. And that was, either live or die. And I chose to live. And fortunately, that's worked out very well for me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your story. One of your quotes that I absolutely love, it's probably my favorite quote of yours is, the cure for this affliction is the aggressive pursuit of a great life. Can you tell the listening audience what you mean by that?
Sure. And this is one of those quotes that, depending upon when you hear it, either it inspires or it promotes resentment, right? There are people who hear that same quote, the cure for this affliction is the aggressive pursuit of a great life, and their first reaction is bullshit. Thanks for telling me nothing. Clickbait, marketing tomfoolery, and just to bring it back to my story, Eric, because a number of things coalesced at that low point. And while I don't recommend a bender to anybody, I will tell you this: when you've got no place to go but up, and your life is at that low point, it is an incredible opportunity to transform. So this is for you guys. Listen, you can transform without jumping off the cliff, but if you're there, know that you will get through it, and if you do the right things, you'll come through it stronger, you'll come through it better. So I'm at this low point, and I'm have to make a decision. Where am I going to put my eggs? In what basket? Am I going to do 12 steps again? Am I going to see a therapist again? Maybe I didn't dig deep enough, maybe like almost 2 decades of therapy didn't bring me back to that core wound. Maybe I didn't go to enough meetings. And so it's at or around this time, 2 things came into my life, and very, very quickly followed by a third. First is I discovered this website called Feed the Right Wolf, which I now own, which I think is awesome. But this wonderful man named Alex created this website, Feed the Right Wolf, based upon this Native American tale that there are 2 wolves inside us, good, evil. Which wolf wins? The one you feed. Okay, so that came at the same time with this break a habit, make a habit. And I was unemployed. I had a lot of free time on my hands to figure out how I'm going to put my life back together. And the combination of those 2 things, led to this behavior change system that I've created that's changed the lives of thousands of people. But it started at this moment where I realized that my success in not doing the thing was a function of something else. And so then I started to just read about recovery stories, but I skipped every chapter. I went right to the end. I went right to the end of all these success stories, people who've recovered from drugs, from alcohol, from sex, from porn, whatever their compulsion was. Mm-hmm. And the end of every one of those stories was someone pursuing a great life. Yeah. There's no mediocrity. When you get to understand what's really driving this numbing, coping, and escaping behavior, average, okay, mediocre, malaise, it's unacceptable. That statement is a fact. It is unacceptable. And that's the thing, like when I hear just the word recovery, it's like, that doesn't excite me. Right? It kind of like, I kind of bristle, Eric, the same way you do. When we're operating in this world where people naturally, for a whole variety of different reasons, quickly, define their behavior as compulsive or an addiction. I'm an addiction, and then when you're an addiction, you're in recovery, and I can get with a period of stabilization, after some significant crisis in someone's life. I can understand that recovery, but the notion of it being this lifelong state of running away from your addiction is just preposterous. It is. I would much rather aggressively pursue a great life. It changes the mindset. It has you solution-centric. There's a number of layers to that very, very simple statement that are very profound. And again, some of you men and women listening to this right now will hear that the cure for your affliction is the aggressive pursuit of a great life, and that may repel you. That may, cause you to question my credibility. And I want you to remember this moment, because I promise you, when you're ready to receive that reality, your life will change, and you'll come back and say, shit, that was my projection onto what Craig and Eric were talking about versus it being a fact, because it's a fact. It's a fact, Eric. Like it is a cornerstone on which I live my life. I'm in one of two places. I'm on the right track and I'm on the wrong track. And there are going to be places when you're on the wrong track. Your kids get sick. Your commitments get in the way of your self-care. Someone dies. Things go wrong at work, problem after problem after problem. But knowing that I'm in that place, if I'm in an ebb, that's prompts action to get me back into that aggressive pursuit of a great life, because that's what's necessary to lift the mediocrity, malaise, and underachievements that's suffocating these men who have lost themselves in pixels, who are literally a slave to that, orgasmic, second of satisfaction to mask fear and pain and inadequacy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about real quick what wasn't working, or maybe a low point in your life. Before we started the call, you were telling me of a low point that had happened. Can you tell the audience about that?
You mean the low point / ridiculously crazy funny story that we talked about?
Yeah.
So there are a number of moments when I look back that just have me shaking my head and what kind of world was I living in? And one of the places that I used to go, and of all the things I've admitted publicly, this still makes me uncomfortable, is the adult bookstores. And for those of you who do not know, do not go. It is the place where men go to die. And there's these shady stores with these booths that you can go into to slip money into a machine, to masturbate. The room stinks. There's semen on the floor. I mean, it is disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. But one moment that, just to share with you guys, to bring a little bit of levity, to get, you thinking about your behavior without all the shame and judgment. There was one time when I was, so the walkout, walking in is easy. Because the mind is in that addictive state. It's in that compulsive drive. It's in, that addict part of you it was driving me. So you're not thinking about who's looking, that there are cameras, that, there could be a news crew filming the plays. Like, you're not thinking about, you could see someone that you're in the zone. So I'm in the zone. So boom, I get in. I spend whatever I spent, wasted money to walk. And by the way, this isn't an era of cell phones, by the way. I'm paying to watch porn in an adult video store when we have the power of cell phone. That's how banged up I was. Right. And so I'm walking out and my feet hit a patch. And like the movie theater, the floors are disgusting, and you know what's on the floor. Yeah. And my feet start kicking out from underneath me, like in the cartoon, and I can hear the squeak, 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 and I am ready to fall down flat on my ass. Everybody's looking now, the three people that were in the store, so I've never been more humiliated. Mm-hmm. And I grab onto the videos that were holding up, and I remember looking over and seeing just a big penis at this video as I'm about to fall into this pool of cum, and finally stabilized myself, collected myself, and walked outside, drowning in shame, like literally just like, what am I doing? And of course, how do we respond to that? We act out some more, and I'm sure I found a way to numb, cope, and escape from that shame. But that was absolutely one of the low points towards the end that I look back on and shake my head and say, what the hell were you thinking? But listen, Eric, that was something I had done since I was 16 years old. I've been going to adult video stores since I was 16. Other kids got fake IDs to buy booze. Yeah. I got fake IDs to go buy porn.
Wow.
and you go to these shady places. There's all sorts of shenanigans going on, and I dabbled in that too. I mean, it is a dark, 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 lonely place. And you know, and you know, for you know, guys out there who are just watching porn, you know, I had a client once, Eric, and he took a picture of himself, you know, in the position, right? The slunched over position, you know, sitting in his desk chair. He was fully clothed when he took the picture, but he wanted to see what he looked like. And he wanted like a lens from the outside looking in. And that became his shameful moment when he saw how weak his posturing was. He saw how pathetic it was. He saw how much time he spent in that position instead of this position, you know, creating something, building something, living a great life. Mm-hmm. So, you know, let those shame moments be teachers.
Yeah, yeah. And I wanted you to share that story for the guys that think that, oh, you know, I'm hopeless. You know, there's no hope for me. And I wanted them to hear just a small part of your story on how far, and you've got, I know, a lot of other stories as well. So thanks for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I wanted to, while we're on this, you know, down part of it, what would you say from all your experience, what does not work to help people overcome addictions? Yeah.
So this is, you know, here we are on this porn addiction podcast, this compulsive behavior podcast. And what doesn't work is obsessively focusing on not doing the thing. So for a lot of people, how they interpret that disease-based modality, they go to the meetings, people share their failures, very few successes shared.
And I know it very well. I know it very well for going to 12-step meetings for 20 years, but go ahead.
Yeah, so you know, now listen, that doesn't mean that there aren't meetings out there that are helping people and that connection that men form, but as a modality, it doesn't work, and the data is actually pretty poor. So obsessively focusing on not doing the thing is what's keeping men stuck, because they're not aligning their action with the golden rule of behavior modification, and that's to break a habit, you have to make a habit. Mm-hmm. And that make a habit part forces you to focus on other areas of your life, like self-care, living your life's purpose, your career, finances, health, hobbies, relationships, and spirituality. You have goals, you have a vision, you have a plan to get there. And by the way, all of those things you're doing are meeting needs in your life. See, the problem with obsessively focusing on not doing the thing, what people lose sight of is that this behavior is doing something for you. And I'll share with you really, really quick a new exercise that I give to people. And that new exercise is they have to write down all the positive attributes of their compulsive behavior. What do you mean positive attributes? My wife's ready to leave me. No, bullshit. You do it every day. What's it doing for you? Well, okay. Well, maybe it's helping me escape. Oh, good. And that first word turns into this, 5 or 10 item list of positive attributes that behavior is meeting in their lives. It's doing something. It's serving a purpose. Yeah. It has been serving a purpose for decades in many cases. So what purpose is it serving? How do you get those needs met in a healthy, constructive way? That is the only way you're going to create long-term success in your life. Oh, and by the way, this issue takes care of itself. Listen, everybody's different. If you're like me and you're like, some other guys out there where, the level of sexual healing that needs to occur between each man is different. So for some, that sexual health piece is higher. For some men, lower for others. But for all men, for every client that I have ever worked with, sexual health is secondary. Mm-hmm. That's the symptom. Yes. That's the symptom. So that speaks volumes to me. That's like, and I have been screaming it from the rooftops, is you've got to change the approach that you're taking. And then people come and they watch this video and they're like, oh my God, my mind was blown. It shouldn't be that way, Eric. People shouldn't be learning this stuff from the life coach.
Craig, that reminds me of a story. I was telling you, this was a long time ago, and I told you that in the 12-step meetings, that I had done 90 meetings in 90 days. And you were like, you're like, that sucks. 90 meetings in 90 days. He said, why don't you try to do like a yoga pose a day for 90 days or something like that? And I did that. And that was just so refreshing, rather than focusing every day on this affliction, to, change my focus over doing a yoga pose for 90 days.
I mean, can you imagine? And listen, I remember that conversation because it's one I've had often with a lot of people. Can you imagine if you took that 2-hour block, right? Because you've got to get to the meeting. You've got to get back from the meeting. You've got the meeting itself, hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes, 90 meetings in 90 days. If you took that block and you went to yoga class, you got a personal trainer and like fed yourself and did what you needed to do you went to the gym during that time, in 90 days, you're a different person. You're transformed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very different outcome. Very different outcome.
So we're talking about what works now. Craig, you've helped thousands of people literally around the globe on X amount of continents. What would you consider, all your experience, what are the common elements to guys that are successful in the program?
Sure. Great question. And it's very important. Number one, there's a motivation. There's this realization that as long as they've tried to ignore it, and as long as they've been fighting with their partner about it, as long as they've tried to stuff it down, they come to this realization that they are living a crappy life. And that reality, that awakening to that reality, whether you're a sex addict or not a sex addict, let people have that debate. My question I ask is, are you healthy? And the realization when they're not is that motivation is critical for at least success in my program. My program isn't coddle you along until you're ready. That's not what this is. Now, some people need that, initial support. Maybe they've got to go to a therapist. Maybe they've got to, acclimate to themselves to the realities of what's really going on in their lives. But motivation is important. That's fundamental. The second, related to that motivation, is an internal belief system that you are, in fact, underachieving. So you have to be motivated. You can be motivated and not believe that your life is worth more than that. And so that's someone else we want to exclude from the program. This reality that they are underachieving, that they've got more cylinders to fire, more fuel in the tank to burn. That is critically important to long-term success. The third attribute is that someone is looking for results quickly. I like to set that expectation, Eric. The way we structure things, of course, at the Mindful Habit, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. I like that. I like that pressure. People pay me for results. They don't pay me to hold their hands and sing Kumbaya and ask them how they feel. I mean, I'm going to ask you how you feel, but it better come with a bunch of other tools, teachings, and techniques that are going to move you forward. So the combination of those three attributes equals success in my program.
Awesome. So what would you say to someone that is listening right now that is really lost, they're feeling hopeless, they're listening to you and they're saying, this is too good to be true. It's just like the other programs, I've been in 12-step programs and seen a therapist. What would you tell that person?
I would tell them to get on the phone and call you. That's what I would tell them to do, to get Coach Eric on the case. And the reason why you want Coach Eric on the case, because there is hope. There's hope. The gift, right? Like, you're going to come out of this. You person struggling, listen, right now, you're going to come out of this saying, I wish I didn't hurt anybody in the process, but I am grateful for the gift that this failure has given me. Because one of the key things that needs to change is your relationship with failure. Can you find the gift in it? So just know that you, with the right tools, teachings, and techniques, can create significant change in your life if you're willing to work. And so when you're at that low point, when you listen, some people have trouble getting out of bed. There's depression on top of this. There's anxiety on top of this. There's obesity on top of this, an addiction to sugar on top of this, and a terrible relationship with technology on top of this. And you guys got this real narrow view of what you think your problem is. It's so much bigger than that. And if you just right now get a drink of water, eat something healthy, exercise for 60 seconds, begin to start to prioritize self-care and take action, and you will not only see that hope, you will embrace that hope, you will realize that hope, and you will look back on this low point as you can't wish it didn't happen. The way I say it is, I wish I didn't have to hurt anybody in the process, but I am grateful for the lessons that my compulsive sexual behavior has taught me, and all of my compulsive behaviors. I'm grateful for those lessons. Without those experiences, without those traumas, without being touched as a kid, without being exposed to porn as a kid, without having the other challenges that I did have as a child, I wouldn't be here. And I'm in a great place because of those challenges, in spite of them.
Right. As you say, failure equals opportunity.
I do say that because it's true. It's true. And it's, guys who are slipping, right? I slipped, and here's what happens. They feel bad about themselves. They shame themselves. Then they've got to numb, cope, and escape from that shame, and they slip again. You fall down, you get back up. I don't want to oversimplify it, but I want to oversimplify it. When you fall down, you get back up. Just know that chronic self-deprecation is the problem. And the belief systems that support it, that is the problem. Break that cycle.
Yeah, that self-deprecation, that was a big thing for me. For 20 years, I was saying, hi, my name is Eric. I'm a sexaholic. And it was completely counterintuitive to what I was learning. Like, I'm really big into self-development and personal development. And so I was listening to people like Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy, things like that. I'm learning all these great things. And then on the addiction side, I'm being told the opposite things. And I'm saying that, hi, I'm Eric, I'm a sexaholic. And it just wasn't working for me. So that's what was so refreshing about your program. There wasn't any of that, none of the labels at all.
Yeah, I am, I'm so privileged and blessed, Eric, to thank Coach Adrian on the team, just got his master's in clinical psychology. George just published a book. You've got this podcast, a certified mindful habit coach. You've got clients that are just saying amazing things about you. And it's just such a privilege from my viewpoint, because I remember, I met these guys at that low point. I remember how low they were, and to see you out there helping people and changing lives, Eric, is just, warms my heart in ways you can't imagine. I'm so, so proud of you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm thinking back, gosh, it's been years now, and it's kind of surreal here that we're on this show, Porn Talk, and I got to give myself a little credit. I've come a long way, and but the credit really, is to you and the program. So, man, thank you so much, and your wife Michelle for starting her blog that kind of started this whole thing. So, wow, thank you.
Oh, honor and a privilege, my friend. Truly, truly am.
Well, Craig, thanks for being on the show, but can you tell everyone how can they get a hold of you or more about?
Sure. So first off, if you're looking for help and you connect with Coach Eric has to say, you reach out to Coach Eric. If you want to find me, my website is www.themindfulhabit.com. There is a 1-hour free training that I have up there that you can download. There is a quiz that you can take that looks at your behavior from an impact perspective. You'll find it right in the top menu bar. And there's a way to sign up for our free private secret Facebook group. We've got a great community of men supporting each other. Those are guys who either don't need or aren't willing to make that next level commitment to the group coaching program. And a great bunch of guys. So themindfulhabit.com will get you what you need.
All right. Well, Craig, thanks again. I'm really, I don't know, I feel kind of humbled now that I feel like I've come full circle. So now I'm helping hopefully thousands of people recover as well and create a great life and to create a great life.
Healthy sexuality and a great life, brother. Those two goals are inexorably intertwined, meaning you can't separate them. They're too closely connected. Stop with the goal of not doing something. Focus on those two areas. Go where you want to go, and your life will change. And thank you so much for having me, Eric. And thank you so much for your vulnerability and your willingness to put yourself out there and share your story. And I just know, I literally know personally how many people you're helping. So keep up the great work.
Will do. And I would like to close with use this quote from Zig Ziglar, who says, "You are designed for accomplishment. You are engineered for success, and you are endowed with the seeds of greatness. Stay powerful, friends."